Sustainable Claremont. It's a pleasure to be here. The main point I want to make is good news. We do have a remarkably attractive solution or major step forward toward dealing with the climate change problem. This is Admiral Samuel Locklear III, who was Commander-in-Chief of all U.S. forces in the Pacific in 2013. And he was asked by a reporter, what do you think will be the greatest long-term threat to security in the Pacific region? And he did not say North Korea, and he didn't say China. He said, quote, an upheaval related to climate change is probably the most likely thing that's going to disturb international security. In the not-too-distant future, we're looking at the danger of large-scale population movements due to climate change. But I do want to tell you about this remedy. It has three key elements: a carbon fee, a dividend, and a border adjustment. Part one is that it would be a federal law. The U.S. Treasury would collect a fee on the production or import of coal, oil, and natural gas in proportion to the amount of CO2 embedded in the fuel. Starting low, too low to solve the problem, but to give time for the economy to adjust, $15 per ton of CO2 in the first year. But the second year, it would go up by $10 to $25 a ton. Third year, $35 a ton. It would go up by $10 a ton every year, indefinitely. Then secondly, under this plan, the Treasury would send the money in dividends, monthly dividends to every American household on equal per capita basis. And you would be free to do what you want with your money. And as the fee goes up every year, the dividend goes up every year. But even better, this plan is designed to be fair so that low-income families would actually be insulated from the cost of the rising cost of the carbon fee by the dividend. Dividends are equal, but low-income families have smaller carbon footprint. In the first year, a study we had done that covers only 1 year shows that all of these groups would actually get more in a dividend than they would pay in higher costs due to the carbon fee. 90% of the poor families, 2/3 of elderly families, 2/3 of young households would actually get more back in the dividend than they're paying in higher gasoline and electricity prices. And this is not counting the gains from avoiding worse damage from climate change, which is really the object here anyway. Now you're probably asking yourself, what about international trade? If we enact the two domestic parts of this plan, and then we're going to be raising gradually the costs of U.S. producers in international trade. And if they're competing with imports from countries that lack similar carbon pricing, they will be gradually getting a disadvantage as their costs go up. And they will figure this out before this goes through Congress, and they will block the bill from passing Congress in the first place. And so we add a third element, the border adjustment. This would authorize the president to collect an additional duty on imports coming from countries that lack similar pricing on carbon. The amount of the duty would be equal to the rising cost domestically due to our domestic carbon fee and no higher. So it would not actually be protectionist. Otherwise, we would be encouraging imports and discriminating against U.S. producers and encouraging them to ship jobs overseas. We don't want to do that. So we want to keep the competitive relationship the same. So that would be the third element.